talking about issuing preemptive pardons to these people.
But was he aware of his signature being used on every single pardon? That's a question you should ask the Biden White House.
Is there any evidence on that he wasn't aware of it?
You're a reporter. You should find out.
Okay,
Sean.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel, Human Wise. We got to talk about the White House Secretary's press conference today. This young lady, I know she's young, and I know a lot of people may have had some apprehension early on when they found out that this young lady under 30, if I'm not mistaken, I believe Karoline Leavitt, she's maybe 27, 28 years old. She is a young person, but she is definitely up to the task. Oh my goodness, man. Oh my goodness. You guys got to see it for yourself. Like, share, subscribe, turn the notifications on, click that all. Let's get into it.
Something different. There is now a member of the European Parliament from France who does not think the U.S. represents the values of the Statue of Liberty anymore. They want the Statue of Liberty back. So is President Trump going to send the Statue of Liberty back to France?
Absolutely not. And my advice to that unnamed low-level French politician would be to remind them that it's only because of the United States of America that the French are not speaking German right now. So they should be very grateful to our great country.
Bars. This young lady never ceases to amaze me. Goodness gracious. Now, for the life of me, I don't understand why some, French politician has anything to say about what we got going over here in America. Seriously. Y'all got your own issues. How about y'all deal with the issues that y'all got going on in y'all country? It doesn't seem like y'all have full control over that situation right now, but I'm not going to get into it because I don't care. I don't care much about what's going on in France. I've been to France. Don't care to go back. And that's their nation. Let them deal with that. Let us focus on what we got going on over here. Mind your business. Let's keep it moving.
But first on the president's post overnight, saying that the pardons that were issued by President Biden preemptively to members of the January 6th committee, that they're now null and void. Have attorneys here at the White House told President Trump that he has the legal authority to undo a pardon simply because it was signed by auto pen, as he said?
The president was begging the question that I think a lot of journalists in this room should be asking about whether or not the former president of the United States, who I think we can all finally agree was cognitively impaired. I know it took people some time to finally admit that, but we all know that to be true, as evidenced by his disastrous debate performance against President Trump during the campaign. I digress on that. But the president was raising the point that did the president even know about these pardons? Was his legal signature used without his consent or knowledge? And that's not just the president or me raising those questions, Kaitlan. According to the New York Post, there are Biden officials from the previous White House who raised those questions and wondered if the president was even consulted about his legally binding signature being signed onto documents. And so I think it's a question that everybody in this room should be looking into, because certainly that would propose perhaps criminal or illegal behavior if staff members were signing the President of the United States autograph without his consent.
Biden is on the record talking about issuing preemptive pardons to these people.
But was he aware of his signature being used on every single pardon? That's a question you should ask the Biden White House.
Is there any evidence on that he wasn't aware of it?
You're a reporter. You should find out.
Okay,
Sean.
I don't think these people are reporters. I think these people are paid propagandists, that get on TV and spew the propaganda for the Democrat Party. I don't think that these people are real journalists. I'm just not convinced that they are. They don't break stories. They just have opinions, and they push the narrative or the agenda of the Democrat Party. Here, a group of reporters asking the press secretary to do their job for them. Make that make sense. Make that make sense. This is a group of reporters asking the White House and the press secretary to do the job that they should be doing. They're the ones that should be doing the research. They're the ones that should be, interviewing folks and going to talk to the Biden-Harris administration and those that were a part of that administration and getting down to the nitty-gritty of what was actually going on. Now, what we do know is that Mike Johnson, Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, said that he could not get a meeting with the president. And it took months for him to get one. And when he finally got one, he had a conversation one-on-one, which the people of his staff didn't want to happen. And then he found out right then and there that the president is having things signed off on that he's not aware of. That's out of Speaker Mike Johnson's mouth. Just saying. So if that is the case, and if that is true in that case, it could be a situation to where the staffers were basically running things and signing on his behalf using this auto pen, which, in my opinion, I think that's something they need to get rid of. They need to get rid of this auto pen thing. If you can't sign it directly, I mean, we're talking about the president. We're talking about somebody that's signing laws signing laws and pardons and all types of things. You need a real signature. This auto pen stuff, I mean, all it does is open up the opportunity for fraud.
I have a question on the timeline of the flights. You keep talking about the judge's written order, which hit the docket Saturday night at about 7:26 p.m. But he issued a verbal order before that at about 6:45 and 6:48 p.m. based on the court hearing. A verbal order from the bench. Does the White House feel the need to comply with a verbal order from this judge?
Again, as I said, all of the planes subject to the written order of this judge departed U.S. soil, U.S. territory before the judge's written order.
But what about the verbal order, which of course carries the same legal weight as a written order, and said for the planes to turn around if they were
Well,
in the air?
there's actually questions about whether a verbal order carries the same weight as a legal order, as a written order, and our lawyers are determined to ask and answer those questions in court. Sean.
Now, I got a question for you guys, the legal scholars that we have that watch this channel. Now, I've never heard of it before, but have you ever heard of a verbal order being the actual rule of law over going through the actual process and it being signed off, in a courthouse? I've never heard that before. I've never heard that before. A judge can just give a verbal order and it automatically is enacted. I've never heard it before. Have you guys ever seen something or heard something like this? Because if that's the case, judges can just make verbal orders just willy-nilly without actually going through the proper paperwork and the proper steps. What type of judicial system would we have if that is truly the case? I just don't see that being the case. I mean, what are these people trying to make up the rules?
So on Friday, the president suggested at length that it should be illegal to criticize judges, but he has repeatedly criticized judges who rule against him, and Elon Musk is calling for impeachment of judges who have opposed the administration. So how are those two things not in conflict?
I have not heard the president talk about impeaching judges. I know you mentioned Mr. Musk's tweet, but I have not heard the president of the United States ask that. Mary. Subject to the written order, the judge's written order, took off before the order was entered in the courtroom on Saturday. And the administration will, of course, be happily answering all of those questions that the judge poses in court later today.
And for people who have due process questions about making certain that there wasn't anyone who was swept up who did not meet the criteria that you laid out, is there a way for the administration to provide more detail about how that was determined, who the individuals were that met this deportation order?
Yes, I can assure the American people that Customs and Border Patrol and ICE and the Department of Homeland Security are sure about the identities of the individuals who were on these planes and the threat that they pose to our homeland. They take this incredibly seriously. They are putting their lives on the line to deport these designated terrorists from our country, and they should be trusted to do that. And that's exactly what the American people elected this president to do.
Thanks, Caroline. Just to follow up on that, then, so you're saying definitively that the administration can prove everyone that was put on those flights to El Salvador was either a member of Tren de Agua, MS-13, or some other entity?
We've already provided the breakdown in the effort of transparency about the 261 illegal aliens who were deported. 137 of those were deported under the Alien Enemies Act. 101 of those were Venezuelans removed via Title VIII, which, as you know, are just regular immigration proceedings. And 23 of them were MS-13 Salvadorian gang members. There were also 2 MS-13 ringleaders as part of that group of 23 who President Bukele particularly expressed his gratitude for their return so he can demand justice in his home country. Jennifer.
What criteria, though, other than, say, tattoos or maybe being in the wrong place at the wrong time, are they using to determine that someone is actually a member of one of these organizations?
intelligence and the men and women on the ground in the interior of our country who are finally being allowed to do their jobs. Their hands were tied under the previous administration, and as I said, they take their jobs very seriously. They should be trusted and respected by the American public with this operation. And of course, as I said to Kelly, the administration will provide all details to the questions that the court poses. Jennifer.
They're fighting really hard for criminals. They're fighting really hard for criminal gang members that should not have been in this country in the first place, that's caused so much havoc, so much harm in our country. And you got these reporters fighting tooth and nail for these people. It's freaking ridiculous. It really is. It's a slap in the face to the Americans. It's a slap in the face to every American citizen in this country, man. It really is. And it's just so unfortunate. It's so unfortunate, man. It's really disgusting, to say the least. It really is. And the fact that these people are willing to do this, it shows you who they are. They are the true enemy to this country. They're the true enemy to the constituents of this nation. Instead of them doing their job, they're willing to fight for people that shouldn't be here. I mean, it's ridiculous, man. I want to hear from you guys in the comment section. Like, share, subscribe, turn the notifications on, click that all button so you never miss an upload. Consider joining the ARP family, or you can buy your man a coffee. It supports the channel financially, and I appreciate everybody that chooses to do so. Keep God first in your life. Stay prayed up. We'll catch up with you all next time. Peace.
Vibes so raw, can't hide the